There is a kind of tiredness that no sleep can cure. You can rest your body and still wake up exhausted. You can sleep for 8 hours and still feel like you're carrying an invisible weight on your shoulders. This is not physical fatigue. It is your soul trying to warn you. You've drifted away from your path. Many people today live on autopilot, doing what they have to do, without ever questioning who they're meant to become. And that distance from your true self, your deep self, creates a fatigue that corrodes from within. Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. And the cost of that is high. We lose our energy, our joy, our direction, and eventually our identity. When you drift away from who you came to be, everything becomes effort. Everything demands force. Everything feels like an obligation. And that's the first clue. Your soul's true calling never feels heavy. It may ask for courage, but it never drains you. What drains us is the lie we keep telling ourselves just to survive in places that no longer reflect who we are. This message is for you. If you're tired and you know that this tiredness is deeper than it seems, it's for you who's been fulfilling duties, but forgot who's behind those duties. It's for the soul that's been left behind. Today, we're going to talk about soul exhaustion, about how the persona tries to stay strong while the self withers, and about the silent call that still pulses within you, asking to come home. In Stoicism, there's a simple but powerful idea. Peace comes from coherence between who you are and who you show to the world. But most of us built an armor, a role, a persona, as Carl Jung would say, just to be accepted, validated, understood. And the further we move from our truth, the more energy it takes to maintain the image. Epictetus said, "The greatest prison is needing everyone's approval." And that cost isn't just psychological, it's spiritual. Because when you fake being fine, you silence yourself. When you carry everything alone just to avoid disappointing others, you betray yourself. When you hold back your truth just to avoid rejection, you mute your soul. This is the kind of burden that makes you sick quietly. The exhaustion of holding up a version of yourself that no longer represents you, smiling on the outside while something inside you is dying. The persona wants acceptance, but the self wants truth. The wise Stoic withdraws from the need for external validation. He understands that no reputation is worth the loss of inner integrity. He chooses silence when lies demand words, and he steps back when the soul asks for rest. The real work isn't doing more. It's undoing the roles we were never meant to play, undoing the obligations we carry out of fear of being forgotten, undoing the lie that we must prove our worth to be loved. That's where true relief begins. Not when you conquer the world, but when you allow yourself to return to who you really are. Carl Jung said that within every human being there's a center, a silent point of balance that he called the self. It's not the you shown on social media or the one who shows up at work. It's the you that remains when all the masks fall. When we move away from that center, we fragment. We live from the outer edges of consciousness, where noise, pressure, appearance, and speed rule. And the further we are from the self, the more exhausted we become, because the energy that sustains us doesn't come from outside, not from coffee, compliments, or recognition. It comes from within. From the silence where you meet yourself. From the truth you finally allow yourself to feel. Jung said the path of individuation, becoming your truest self, requires stepping away from the illusion of the persona. It asks you to descend from the image, to descend from the need to control, to descend into the rawest honesty of your pain, where your self lives. And often this descent begins with exhaustion. The soul doesn't scream with words, it whispers through symptoms. And one of the clearest is fatigue without explanation. It's like the body saying, "Stop, go inward, listen." In Stoic terms, this is the return to natural reason, the essence, the purest version of who you are. When you pull back from the chaos of the world, you begin to hear your internal compass again. This is the emotional retreat that heals, not a spa, not a vacation, but a deliberate return to what you abandoned, a moment of realization. I got lost, but I can come back. There's a moment when psychology and spirituality meet. It's the moment when reason falls silent and the spirit begins to speak. Jung believed the self, this inner center holding our truest purpose, is, at its core, divine, an image of God within us. And when we stray from that divine source, we fall into emptiness, not as punishment, but as a summons. In the language of the Bible, this call appears again and again: Moses in the desert, Elijah in the cave, Jesus on the mountain. The body must stop so the soul can rise. God often allows our exhaustion not to destroy us, but to clear us, so that His voice finally has room to speak. You don't need to keep pushing. You don't need to keep pretending. You don't need to stay in the world's rhythm when your soul is asking for a new one. True faith often begins in fatigue, not the kind that quotes verses out loud, but the kind that collapses in sacred silence and says, Lord, I can't hold up this false life anymore. And God's answer rarely comes in an instant miracle. It often comes in the form of a retreat into a deeper intimacy with Him, where you are not seen by what you do, but by who you are. There is an energy that doesn't come from your body. It rises from a soul aligned with its truth, and when that happens, everything shifts. You no longer force conversations. You no longer chase validation. You no longer smile out of obligation. Something inside you simply realigns. The self, once found, doesn't shout. It whispers, but that whisper is enough to sustain your entire life. Jung believed every symptom carries a message, and exhaustion, when listened to with honesty, can become the doorway to a new kind of living. The Stoics knew this too. For them, virtue was living in harmony with nature, and your true nature was never meant to burn out just to survive. This is the silent reward. You're still in the same world, but now you live from a different place, from a soul that's taken the wheel again. If you made it here, it's because something in you is asking to return. The tiredness you feel is not weakness. It is a sacred call, a call to stop carrying what was never yours, a call to drop the masks, a call to leave the crowd and meet your soul again in the wilderness. You're not failing, you're returning, and that return is your soul's greatest triumph. If this message stirred something in your heart, leave this in the comments. I return to what is true.